I think Night Visions is a perfect example of a show I wanted to talk about for this series. Something that we watched a long time ago, right in the middle of that 90s to early 2000s era, and I've never met anyone that has ever talked about it.
I don't think anyone else knows about it. A one season, 13 episode, 26, 26 stories show that just came out in 2001, ended in 2002. No one ever talks about it. It's not on DVD. It's not on streaming. And in fact, the fact that we even know about it is kind of like happenstance because we didn't watch it at the original airtime. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but Josh and I were friends outside of this before we started this show. And we'd hang out all the time. And there used to be this little TV network called Chiller. I guess the modern equivalent, if it would exist today, would be something like a Shudder or something. But so basically horror with TV limitations, and they would just air everything. And we used to just hang out. We'd watch Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction, and the other option was Night Visions.
Yeah, and let me jump in a little bit into the Chiller Network first. So the reason I even found that network, back, this was 2009, 2010, just the cable that we had locally, you can search by like a show that you want to watch. So being a fan of Beyond Belief since I was a kid, I wanted to know where to watch it. The internet, of course, was around, but like, you couldn't just go on and find Beyond Belief. Like, it wasn't that easy like it is now. So I searched on the cable Beyond Belief, and it pulled up on Chiller, because what Chiller would do is run marathons of different shows in syndication, and one of them is Beyond Belief. So I found it there, and I'm like, what is this channel? And it was just a channel of horror and sci-fi stuff 24/7.
Welcome to Chiller, the only channel delivering a 24/7 adrenaline rush.
Good times.
I think eventually in its later years it started to make a little bit of original programming, but for the most part it was all, syndicated stuff. And so once I found that, then we started looking at the other series, and a lot of the series that we talk about in this show is going to be stuff that in part was discovered through Chiller, to the fact that even our ability to watch this show now is because of Chiller, because the only source I was able to find it was on YouTube, and in the YouTube videos you can see the Chiller watermark on the corner of all of the episodes. So like you said, this was never physically released, canceled after one season, and the only source I can find it isn't even from the original airings. It's someone recording it on Chiller.
So yes, if you want to watch this show, watch all 13 episodes. They're available on YouTube. Quality is terrible. There's no subtitles. It's great.
But I'm scared because it's one channel that has a playlist of all the episodes except one, which is posted by another random person. And that's the only copies I can find. So obviously we'll have them downloaded now, but like, if those YouTube channels just decided to get deleted or whatever, it's like the show's gone. Like, it's so scary.
The thing is, I don't think anyone cares to copyright strike that. Like, what is this?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is weird because this show has famous directors like Joe Dante, Toby Hooper, the directors of Gremlins, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Bill Pullman, who directs and stars in the episode that he's in. It's like the amount of famous actors that are in this just out of nowhere, like Jerry O'Connell, Malcolm McDowell.
The Beast won't tolerate music. The Beast? What the hell?
This whole like anomaly of like low budget TV, it makes no sense to me. Like, why does this exist? And it was like filmed in Canada, which is like one of the most famous filming spots, similar to Atlanta, Georgia, just like cheap filming locations. But like rewatching this, I'm like, how does this exist?
Yeah, that was one of the biggest differences from watching it when we were younger to now, is almost every single episode, there's someone recognizable in it. You already named a few, but like, Carl Lumbly is in one of the episodes. Jamie Kennedy is the protagonist of one of them. Stephen Baldwin. Like, these aren't all A-list celebrities, but for that time, it was some pretty big names. Like, Jamie Kennedy had obviously been like in Scream and stuff, So even the Pink Power Ranger is in one of the episodes. The original Pink Power Ranger. Like, it is, I can't think of one of the episodes that doesn't have at least one recognizable person. Malcolm McDowell is in one.
Carrie Elwes.
Yeah, Carrie Elwes, yeah. I can't remember her name, but the woman who recently is from Orange is the New Black and Russian Doll on Netflix, and she was in like the American Pie movie. She's in one of these. So it's like literally insane. That was my biggest surprise watching the show.
I Leo pointed in almost every episode. Like what? They're in this? But that's the thing about the show. I thought like, oh my god, this little era of horror. It's probably so great. And while some segments are great, others are like, oh, like I wish Shudder was around then, or like I feel like these stories with like the modern freedoms of like internet streaming might have made it a lot better. But within the restrictions of, regulated TV and like time limits, because like each episode is 43 minutes, which is great, but it's 2 segments per episode, so each segment gets half that time. I feel like they needed some more time for some of these, but the ones that like were great, they nailed it out of the park.
Yeah, I think with any anthology show, especially ones that have 2 segments per episode, it comes down to one of the big factors is the consistency of the episodes. Every anthology is going to have bad episodes and hopefully great episodes. Mm-hmm. And this one definitely has great ones. But this is one of the examples of it is literally a crapshoot. You could have something that makes you think for days or something that you never want to watch again 5-10 minutes into it. I ran into both those examples.
Yeah. We talk about this when we watch films, like the 5-minute feeling. There were a couple of times where it's like, oh no, this ain't it.
Yeah, and this is a 20-minute show, so 5 minutes, you've already watched 1/4 of the programming. So yeah, for sure. We'll jump into what our favorite ones are a little bit later. But yeah, I think the consistency here does not get a good grade. I think, you compare it to some of the more famous ones, and there are definitely ones out there like the Twilight Zone and such that you can turn it on, and even when it's not a great one, you still have that faith it's going to be good. Mm-hmm. And this one, there's only 26 overall segments, so for a lot of them to be really bad, obviously it's hard to have faith if you were to just catch this somewhere, which you're not going to anymore.
And that's another interesting thing. A lot of times we just like caught episodes, and I'm wondering when people were watching this, it's like a show like Beyond Belief. Jonathan Frakes would come in almost quite frequently between commercial breaks.
It's fiction. It's an urban legend that never happened. No way. We got you. Not a chance.
Like if you catch this on TV, Henry Rollins is only in the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Yeah.
And it's a 43-minute segment show. So it's like if you just come in blind, you're just like in the middle, like what the hell is this?
Yeah, what is this?
And then let's say you come in like, I don't know, 14 minutes in, and you finish it, and then Henry Rollins walks in and makes some pun. You're like, what? And then another commercial, it's like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how many times that happened. But we should talk about the host, Henry Rollins, singer of Black Flag. Did you know that they wanted Gary Oldman to be the host?
Oh, wow.
Because he played Dracula? But the network is like, nah, we want someone more hip. So they went with buff-ass Henry Rollins. And I want to talk about that, too, because when we watched it back in the day, I had no idea who Henry Rollins was.
Yeah.
And then we kind of like, as we grew up, we stopped watching the show. We just stopped watching the show. Didn't even know it was on YouTube. And then later on, like I had a buddy who told me about Henry Rollins of Black Flag. He gave me this book, and I'm like reading it. I'm like, oh, this is great. Wow, cool. Sounds like a really cool guy. I listened to his podcast, and then when we started to rewatch it for this, and then the first episode, Henry Rollins walked in. I'm like, fucking what? Because back then I was like, oh, just some jacked guy walks in. And
Yeah.
Who is this guy telling these stories? So.
I probably figured he was primarily an actor.
Yeah, or just some like, I'm going to tell you a scary story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't get into as Henry Rollins as you, as far as reading a book or listening to his podcast, but I also had no idea who he was when we first watched it, and like I've become aware of who he is to where he's recognizable now. Mm-hmm. How do you think he stacks up though in the ranks of anthology hosts? Every anthology aims to have a Rod Serling, right?
Yeah, he doesn't have enough time to deliver and have his own, like, he's not like a puppet. He's not like an old crypt keeper. He doesn't have as much screen time as Jonathan Frakes does to make his own puns. He doesn't have any props. He's just a guy in front of a green screen. It feels like they filmed all of his stuff in one day.
Oh, he absolutely filmed it all one day. I mean, it's 26 segments, so he has 26 bits he has to do. And like you said, it's not Rod Serling talking for 3 minutes at the beginning of Twilight Zone or Jonathan Frakes introducing a whole story. Mm-hmm. He comes in, says 2 to 3 lines, and then it fades to black. So he probably filmed all these in like 3 hours and then never thought about it again.
Yeah, no. As much as I enjoyed this show, it needed something else from Henry Rollins. Like, I don't know if he needed his own, because it's just him in front of a green screen of a clip from the episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. Like, he has no special area, some special set, and every horror host does. Like I'm pretty sure Elvira did. Joe Bob Briggs, he's the most famous one now. He has his own like drive-in movie set, but like I feel like the show is so cheaply made and thrown together sometimes, where it's like, fuck it, just put them in front of a green screen.
Yeah, and as people who record in front of a green screen, I think it's fair to say if you're going to have them in front of a green screen, you can green screen a set or green screen a gimmick for him.
Yeah.
It's literally just the eye from the intro of the show.
Yeah.
And we could talk about the intro too, similar to the host, extremely brief, not a lot to it. It's just a image of an eye, and you see a few clips of the upcoming episode in the eye. And then Henry Rollins comes and walks in front of it. It is like, I don't want to say it's one of the worst intros for an anthology, but it still gives it a little bit of a feel because of the song. Like, the theme is catchy.
Yeah.
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 A little bit Friday the 13th.
A little bit Friday the 13th, yeah. And, like, also the show is repetitive to, like, sound effects from the intro is, like, in every episode. George S. Clinton, like, I'm pretty sure he did the score for, like, every single episode. And they don't often feel that different from each other. I mean, I was getting a lot of 1990 vibes from some of the music. But imagine scoring 13 episodes, 26 segments. It's like, the guy probably lost his mind.
Yeah, and last thing on the host, I think one of the most important things for your anthology host is that you want to hook the crowd, you want to intrigue them with the story, and then also give them a satisfying resolution afterwards, but you don't want to give away in the intro too much. I think Henry Rollins, even though he only had 2 to 3 lines, those lines a lot of times would kind of tip too much of what the story is. And when we get into the quality of the episodes, we'll talk more about like twists and stuff, but like he'll come on to certain episodes and he'll say something generic like this. He'll say, either this man is crazy or the world is ending. It's like, okay, so the world's ending.
Either this man is insane or the world is about to come to an end.
Because the episode's not going to be that this guy's crazy, right? Or it'll be like, he's about to learn some secrets should be kept hidden. And it's like, okay, so whatever secret this is, it's going to be, real and a big thing.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
a lot of the episodes are focused on it introduces a fact and then having the protagonist or a character try to deny or find logical reasons around this like supernatural fact, only to then reveal, no, it's actually real.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of the episode. So for Henry Rollins to basically upfront tell you it's real, it's like, okay, it doesn't totally ruin the enjoyment of it, but it's hard to get bought into some of the twists because of that. But we'll talk about that later.
Maybe it takes a madman to know the mind of God.
So I think a question that I want to answer with all of the shows we cover here is, why are they included in this series for us? Obviously, we have the history and the nostalgia of watching it when we were younger. Mm-hmm. But, going back, we could have revisited this and been like, oh, this is absolute shit. Let's not talk about it. I don't think it was, though.
No.
I think one more thing. I think the biggest crime, unfortunately, is that the show wasn't picked up after this first season, so it just is this anomaly. I think had it been renewed, it really could have found itself, because I think the tone of the show is what sets it apart. It's much more realistic in a sense, even though it deals with supernatural stuff, is where I can actually believe a lot of the scenarios it puts out.
Yeah, because it was created by Billy Brown and Dan Angel, who worked on the Goosebumps TV series. So I feel like this was almost their chance to do a little bit more of an adult Goosebumps type thing. It's like, okay, let's take this and make it a little more adult. But I feel like it's just a victim of the time. Like I said, if this came out today with a little more freedom on a streaming service, I feel like they would have found their, they wanted to make an adult Goosebumps.
Yeah, and I can definitely buy in. Yep, that is very much the feel of it, yeah.
But also, there are some supernatural stories, but some are grounded within reality, and they do a good job of making it scary. One of my favorite episodes I don't remember ever seeing back when we used to hang out over your place was the one with the old man and the farmer boy.
And speaking of Goosebumps, that boy, I unfortunately don't know the actor's name, but I first saw him in an episode of Goosebumps, in the episode Werewolf of Fever Swamp.
Oh.
So I've always remembered him from that, and it's funny now he's in another anthology show that's kind of like an adult Goosebumps.
Yeah. And he was a character in Freddy vs. Jason.
Yes.
And I'm pretty so, which makes me think he might be a Canadian actor. Because sometimes some like Canadian productions or Canadian TV shows, they always have that regular Canadian actor.
Yeah, you know what? I think the Pink Power Ranger actor is also Canadian.
Ah,
so
see, there you go.
that
There you
makes
go.
sense. Let's look up his name real quick because
Yeah,
I don't want to.
let's show some respect.
We talked about him enough.
His name is Leonardo DiCaprio. No.
Brendan
Fletcher.
Okay.
Yep, he was born in Canada.
Nice. Brendan Fletcher is the actor, and I thought he did a great job. We'll talk more about the favorite episodes in a little bit, but yeah. The tone I think is what really set it apart for me and sets it apart from other anthologies because it's not really trying to be a Twilight Zone, which is like I feel like the biggest pitfall of so many of these is that let's just remake the Twilight Zone with like a different host and a different type of thing, but it's really kind of the same gimmick. Yes, there are twists in the story. It's sometimes supernatural, but it really does. I would equate it more to Goosebumps than Twilight Zone, just with a more stepped up adult. And there is some brutal stuff in the show too. There's some blood. There's some gore. One ending in particular is someone gets decapitated, and I was pretty shocked to see that. So for being on TV, it wasn't afraid of that.
They definitely pushed the limits because like the one with Michael Rappaport, like there's like a dead body in a chair, and it's like you can clearly tell that it's been gutted from the front, and there's a little bit of blood dripping down. I'm like, oh, they're pushing it. Pushing it.
The show also really reminds me of, and I think this really affects. I think this really speaks to why the quality ranges so much. Have you ever seen any of those 2-sentence horror stories on Reddit or anything like that? So there's a whole Reddit, and it's other places too, I'm sure, where it's like 2-sentence horror stories, where it's like the first sentence is a premise, like you answer your phone and your wife is panicked, and then the second sentence is the twist, like, but then you look over and your wife's in the living room, like something like that.
Okay.
And it's just that's the gimmick, 2-sentence horror stories. I feel like almost every segment of this show is a 2-sentence horror story, and it's just how well can they build around that, because I'm trying to think, like almost every episode, I can think of what the first sentence and the second sentence would be, and like. That's how simple most of them are. It's just, can you build 22 minutes around it? Some of them can and some of them can't.
Yeah, I think some of them were original stories, but in some of the credits, it was like they were based on other short stories or like poems or something. So that definitely makes sense. And it does feel like a cheap, not cheap, but it's like, hey, let's make a short film basically from this, short little novella or something. It's like, why not? Let's make. It feels like just a bunch of people like having fun and making like TV. Like this doesn't feel like the restraints of we got to shoot this now. It feels like people like Joe Dante and Toby Hooper just on their off day, like they're not shooting. Who knows what they'd be shooting in 2000 whatever? But it's like, you know what? Let's make something. You know what I mean? Let's make a TV show. Let's go to Canada. Like it doesn't feel like a stressful situation.
And I could also see it being with an anthology. I could also see it being like the showrunners, they got a certain amount of money to make it, and them like hiring, they pitched Joe Dante on like, oh, we're doing this anthology show. This is the tone. Like, here, make this, and then them just being able to make it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like there's a whole bunch of studio interference on this. They didn't care if like the segments felt the same or like had the same tone. They were like, just go make this short story. So you get a lot of interesting stories and interesting direction choices and stuff because it just seems like they were able to do whatever they wanted, which is why I think it's such a. It's unfortunate it wasn't renewed and continued, but at the same time, had it been really successful and continued, would we have lost some of that authenticity? It's hard to say.
Yeah, it's like the question of like a Firefly season 2 or something.
Yep.
It's like, do we just appreciate what we got? Like I appreciate, like it almost feels like it's ours or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
It's a little secret.
Like this is us telling the world about it, even though you might already know about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, because I just find it fascinating that it's not anywhere else. Not streaming. Not on DVD. Not like they say. What Deep Space Nine is like on video, but on DVD. But like we couldn't even get that for this. I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
And like some guy out there, I think the YouTube channel is like Alfred Hitchcock. The name of his channel like Alfred Hitchcock Archive or something. So I find that interesting. And what's also really fun about watching on YouTube is the old ads popping up. Not like commercials, but like remember the corner
Channel
ads?
banners?
Yeah. It's like, oh, Alfred Hitchcock presents tonight at 9 p.m. Central. It's like, ooh. Or Friday the 13th, the series. It's like, ooh. It's like, it brought me back to like watching it on TV. It's like, oh, because I haven't watched network TV in like years.
Yeah. And had we, when it was us watching it at that time, we could have seen one and been like, oh, let's check that out later. And it was late enough that, the invention of DVR was around. So once we watched a couple episodes of it, I hit, record all, so you end up with some repeats, but I don't know if I quite caught all of them, because there were definitely a lot that I at least didn't remember at all, even though I'd say it was probably about half and half. Like half of them knew immediately what it was, or got reminded immediately and could kind of guess what the ending was from my memory, and then there were some where I'm like, I've never seen this. So.
Oh yeah, there was definitely some where like I have no memory of this at all, and there was some where like I think, and then some where like halfway through I'm like, oh, like triggered it, like, oh, this is this one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the dog one. Like
yeah,
that.
so let's jump into
Okay.
our favorite episodes.
Favorite episodes, okay.
Yeah. So, but whatever, you can talk about that one or whatever,
Oh, I got none.
whatever one you want, yeah.
Okay, let's see. Oh, we got to talk about that. We got to talk. This one's like the most memorable for me. Like I thought, this episode has been in the back of my mind, like for years. Like it sometimes pops up because like the ending always like haunts me. It's the Malcolm McDowell episode, Patterns.
Stop it. You're stronger than you think you are.
It's not me I'm worried about. This prevents a plane from crashing.
Just a veteran actor, Clockwork Orange, Malcolm McDowell, just coming in for like a 22-minute segment where he's like a guy with OCD. He gets arrested. He gets sent to like a jail psychiatric, and he just has these nervous tics. Like drops the pen, picks up the pen, drops the pen, picks up the pen, and he's like convinced that if he doesn't do these things, like each different little tick is keeping one thing in line. He says like, oh, me picking up this pen is keeping your tie blue. Oh, me scratching my ear is keeping a plane from falling over the Atlantic. And the psychiatric's like, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, and this episode is interesting because more than any other, it really is just Malcolm McDowell and the other actor just like in a room for most of it, and just them talking. It eventually does expand later on. And also, we can like say spoilers and whatever we want, and then I can edit it later. So like I can cut out, like we can talk about the ending, and then I can cut around it,
Okay.
But it does eventually expand, later on after they subdue Malcolm McDowell's character. Here's what I really appreciated about that segment. It's pretty obvious from the get-go. This guy's OCD. He thinks he's actually holding the world together. He's correct. Like, that's going to be the twist.
Yeah.
But I appreciated that it's not the only twist. After that happens, then the guy who's been kind of interrogating him this whole time, now he believes it, and then he has to start doing the rituals. And then at the end, he tries to get Malcolm McDowell back in. He's like, no, you have the contract now.
Yeah.
So I like when it can give you the twist you know is coming, but then also give you another one that you didn't see coming. That's what makes a good segment.
Yeah, that ending is like haunted me for years. Like, oh, you have the contract now. And like the lighting, Malcolm McDowell's up against the wall and the window and the lights shining behind him. Like,
yeah.
Because
It's contract with God.
Contract with God, yeah. It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I really like that one. For me, it's tough to choose one, but I'm trying to think of which one would like jump to mind the most. Let me just get a quick look at them here. Oh, okay, yeah. There's definitely some I want to talk about that aren't my favorite, but I just really want to talk about.
Okay.
But I think the first one that does come to mind for me, again, the ending that's haunted me for years, is the Bill Pullman episode of View Through the Window. That's another just excellent premise. I think it's based on a short story, it says. And Bill Pullman directs it and stars in it, and Carl Lumbly also stars in it. And basically, there's just this, like, invisible cube that pops up in the desert with this farm family living in it. And so the U.S. military gets called in, and they don't know what the deal is, but they realize that every certain amount of time, the shield or the cube drops for just a moment. And the family inside doesn't see the desert, or they don't notice that they're in this cube. To them, it's just their world. But Bill Pullman falls in love with one of the farm girls, and the ending of that episode is what got me. Essentially, Bill Pullman dives in, and I hadn't realized, I forgot about how he gets like basically fired and everything before that, but they have to build out the episode.
Yeah.
But he's able to dive in, and then he thinks he's just gonna like be with this woman who doesn't even know he exists, but it ends up they're all like monsters basically, and they just eat him. And it switches. So now the military and the people in the desert can't see the cube anymore. It's because now they're the cube. And the people inside are waiting for the thing to drop. And Henry Rollins, I think this is one of his best outros, where he's like, now it's just a matter of time.
Now the window looks out onto us. And it's only a matter of time before the window opens and they join us for dinner.
And that one always got me.
Yeah. What I like about that one is they wanted to bring in like an interpreter from the CIA, but like one of the military guys is like, we don't work with the CIA. It's like just creating an excuse to not have him do like a lip read, because they wanted like a lip reader to see what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, no, we don't work with the CIA. This is a pure military. It's like, okay.
Yeah, plot convenience.
Yeah. But what I really like about the ending is after Bill Pullman jumps through and they all start eating him, the old man is like looking around, like he knows what it is, and he starts, he reads his book and he's able to change it. And like we see like their clock and their book, and it's all these weird markings in different languages. I'm like, oh. And like he's like talking to the little redhead boy, like telling him like to just bang on the wall to see like when it opens. So.
And I'm pretty sure he's like holding a bone from Bill Pullman's body.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a big bone, but that's what I took out of it. So yeah, that one is the perfect example of like maybe the whole segment isn't the strongest throughout, but you get the point of it, and it's a twist I didn't see coming. Even though in hindsight, it's kind of obvious, but like while watching it, I didn't see it coming, so that one really got me.
Yeah, I guess I'll briefly talk about. I more want to talk about a line from this episode that made me laugh really hard. But similar, in the same episode as the Malcolm McDowell one, there's one about a deaf courtroom illustrator.
The person who draws the pictures.
Yeah. What is it? Illustration?
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
But she picks up another sense that she's able to read minds, and like one of the detectives like on the case is actually one of the murderers. But anyway, as the episode goes on, like the detective is telling a story about his little brother. It's like, oh, and then my little brother, he ran right into the street, right into a gang shooting.
He ran across the street, into the gang shooting, into the bullets.
It's like you think ran into the street, got hit by a car. No, he ran into the street, right in the middle of a gang shooting.
Yeah.
That line made me laugh for like an hour.
Yeah, that segment was pretty corny. That was also the last segment to air of the whole show, so it went out in a bit of a whimper. I mean, they also had the Malcolm McDowell one in there first, so that was the stronger part. Another one I wanted to bring up and talk about, not necessarily one of my favorites, but The Neighborhood Watch.
Well, look, we don't even know what this guy did. Maybe it was relatively harmless.
Convicted sex offender. How can that be harmless?
I don't know. Maybe he was a flasher or a...
Where the family thinks that a pedophile has moved in because they get a letter saying so, and it tells them the apartment and who it is. Conveniently doesn't have a picture on it, but it tells them who it is, and they think it's this guy who's sitting out by the playground smoking every day, leering at the children. And basically, long story short, their paranoia and events that happen to no fault of this man lead to them getting together and killing him, only to then find out right after that he wasn't the pedophile. They put the wrong apartment on the letter, and it was somebody else. The episode's ridiculous. But I liked the twist ending and how it's like, oh, he wasn't the monster. These people are actually the monster. However, with that being said, the idea of how this all played out is so dumb. The main character guy never wants to do anything. He's like so passive about it. It's these other two guys that are like, you gotta kill him, we gotta kill him. And he's like, this is ridiculous. So then they draw straws and he gets the shortest straw, so he shoots him. I just wouldn't do it. I'd be like, no, I'm not becoming a murderer.
Yeah, I'm not killing this man. I'm not going to risk losing, And it's also really funny, like the innocent guy who they think is a pedophile. Like, of course, he collects children's toys. There's a segment where he's riding down in the elevator, and his daughter gets in the elevator with him, and he's just like, not smoking, but he's like looking down, like, oh, hello, and it's like, and like also like the three younger daughters like of the neighborhood, they do a dare on each other, like, oh, sneak in there, and she sneaks in there and he runs out. Of course, the guy tries to grab her, so it does like all this obvious setup, almost obvious setup that like, okay, he's not going to be a pedophile. Like looking back, it's like, oh yeah, of course he wasn't going to be one because they made it so obvious that he is one.
Yeah, it makes sense for the twist of the episode at the end to like, oh, you killed an innocent man. Even if it hadn't have been like a mistake and he was an innocent man, like he still did nothing wrong in this episode. Like let's say in a theoretical, he was a pedophile or whatever the case was. They don't even go into like what the crime was. He went to jail or whatever. The cop even says when the cop comes to the guy's house, he's like, even if what you're saying about this guy is true, he did his time, he's just at his home. That doesn't give you the right to murder him.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything, obviously, because it wasn't the guy. But even if it was, he didn't do anything, actually wrong to get killed. So, in a way, it was like, I almost wish they could have somehow pulled it off where it wasn't a mistake, because it's like, still, you're not justified in killing someone because they committed a previous time that they served their time for. I'm not defending pedophiles. I'm just saying it was so much of a reach for me, to be like, we're gonna murder this guy. It was like I kind of couldn't buy into it.
Don't you want to protect your daughter? It's like, well, yeah, but also if I'm in jail for life, I don't think I can.
Yeah, it's like, being at all the stuff they did before that was like, vandalize his car, all that, like, that was a little bit more believable, but then they just jump right to shooting him. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What's another one you wanted to talk about?
I want to talk about the Carrie Elwes episode.
The Joe Dante one?
Yes,
Yeah.
directed by Joe Dante, who directed The Burbs, Gremlins. It's like 2 films I love. And this story is about a guy who lives in the city, and he's kind of just like overwhelmed by all the sound. Like, he listens to the radio, he's like, oh, I just have to get away. So he goes out camping. He sees an advertisement for camping, goes camping, sets up somewhere, and of course he's set up next to some ridiculous, boisterous guy with his loud dog, and it's like, he's like, I just want to get away from the weekend. And like on the radio, like they're talking about like some like a
serial killer.
Week time murderer who like murders during the week. So he's like, oh, I'm just.
No, I think it was on the weekend.
On the weekends, yeah. So, yeah, that's right. He murders on the weekends, but this is his weekend off. The murder's weekend off. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna get away. And then, spoilers, like you think like the boisterous man is like the killer, but then it's revealed like slowly almost. It's where Carrie Elwes is like, oh yeah, that's why I killed your dog. It's like, what? And then it's revealed that like he's the killer, and he was taking a weekend off from killing, not a weekend to get away from the noise that he was a killer. And like just like the switch that Carrie makes in this like short 22-minute segment, it's like, oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, great reveal by him.
Didn't expect the twist, because sometimes it's like, yeah, but this one I'm like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming.
And it connects perfectly and makes sense, because like in the beginning when he's in his apartment, he's watching the news and they're talking about this serial killer on the weekend, and then he's like, I just need a weekend off, and goes into the woods. Like, it makes perfect sense, and he can't even get away from murdering someone while he's in the woods.
Yeah.
And I had really believed that this guy was going to kill him. Like, I thought the story was just going to be about, maybe not necessarily this guy is that serial killer, because I honestly didn't really pick that up, like, from the beginning of the episode, but something was going to happen with this guy, because the one part that was, like, a little bit hard to believe was when the guy just throws the axe at the tree.
I'm a happy camper, but
like, next to where Carrie Elwes is standing, and he's like, leave me alone. It's like, I understand the guy being irritated, but he threw an axe right next to him. I'm like, damn. But, no, I really liked it. And also, he says things that I think it's up for interpretation, but, like, at one point, Carrie Elwes confronts him for, like, following him, and he's like, stop following me. And the guy's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, I think maybe the Carrie Elwes character, like, because he is that serial killer deep down, he thought he was like trying to get away from him, but really he wasn't. Like, he wasn't actually, because he wants to kill people.
He wants to kill people, yeah.
Yeah, so I really did like that one too.
That one I might have to just rewatch, knowing the twist. You know, it's like some of these I'm like, I'm never gonna watch this again. Maybe in another 10 years. But that one I definitely want to rewatch after this.
Yeah. Another good one you already brought up, Bitter Harvest, with the old man and the kid. The thing, I think, one of the big things that separates the best segments of this show is ones where it's not just the main character dying, because that happens in a lot of them, where through whatever the case is, the main character dies, right? But I think the better ones are where something happens where the main character is just screwed and there's nothing they can do about it. And this was an example here where he obviously causes an accident that makes this old man lose both of his arms in a fucking farm equipment machine that rips him off.
Yeah, and like a grain churner or something. And it's like, I think it was like just like a bet, like, oh, I bet you won't go over old man Jennings' yard. It's like, oh, yeah, no, I'll do that. And he goes over there, and the old man's just, it's like, ah, he just runs away, and like, almost like comically or Scooby-Doo style, like he turns a corner and the old man's there. Like again. And then he steps on a pad that activates his churner, and of course the old man trips. Oh, both arms.
Yeah, and he just runs away. But what's crazy is, luckily in my childhood I didn't do anything like this on accident. But I feel like a lot of people do, maybe not to this extent, but like a lot of people, as a kid, you just don't know anything. Like you don't understand consequences, and like I can't imagine like doing something like that and then having to live with it, And so that already was like, damn, this episode is serious. But then his dad makes him help out the old man. The old man doesn't rat him out. He only says he was stealing stuff from his farm. So the dad makes him go help him. And he's like, why didn't you, tell on me, basically? And the guy's like, I don't see the point in it or whatever. You think this guy's just like a saint. Like, oh, he's really not going to do anything. But then they're on a farm. The horse that the kid has is pregnant. The horse has a baby, and it's born without limbs. And it's basically implied that the old man somehow did that. I'm not sure exactly how.
But before that, this is one of the great examples of like just tension that the show can create, because like he has no arms, so he obviously can't do anything. So he has the kid go up and clean the gutters, and I'm pretty sure you see the old man just start kicking the ladder.
Oh yeah. And then the ladder does fall.
Yeah.
And he's like hanging on to the gutter, and then he gets back up and he's like, be careful.
And there's another scene where like the same grain churner gets stuck, and he's like, oh, come on, we're losing grain here. You got to stick your hands in there and unclog it. And the kid's like, and he goes to reach in, and you see like the old man's foot like go towards the thing to turn it back on. It's like, oh, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it?
Yeah, and he doesn't do it, and the guy, I think it's part of the old man's bone was what was stuck in there. And honestly, I was like, okay, kudos to the kid. Regardless of the scenario, I would not have done that. Knowing that I did that to this old man, I would not. I'd be like, I'm going home. My dad can beat my ass. I don't care.
Or it'd be like, you get as far away as you can from that button. And what really pissed me off is the kid never apologized.
Well,
ever.
Yeah, that's kind of why he like deserves it. At the
Yeah,
end.
it's one of those like main characters that you don't sympathize with at all. I'm like, this fucking kid.
I mean, he is a kid, but like he's old enough to where it's like you could apologize.
Yeah. So and then the horse is born with no limbs, and then like the parents are like, oh, we're having a baby. Guess what? You're gonna be an older brother. And Henry Rollins has another like one-liner at the end. Will there be more consequences to so and so's actions? I guess we'll find out in 9 months.
Yeah, another great outro. And again, another additional twist, because you don't even know that the mom's pregnant throughout the episode. They tell him at the very end.
Yeah.
And then the old man just
at
standing
the end,
there.
just with his no arms. Just.
What's your theory, though? Do you think he's going to do something to the baby?
I don't know. Or do you think he actually is like super? Because that was the thing in the beginning. They were afraid of him, like as if he's some almost like witch man or something.
Yeah, the way he did it to the horse has to have something to do with like the burial of the arm or whatever, right? Because it had like the horse's blanket thing around it.
Yeah.
It had to be some type of supernatural way that he did that. I mean, obviously.
Because they went over his place to check and to see if there was a grave, and then the kid goes over there and it's just like a pile of mulch or something. Then later on in the episode, it's revealed that there is a grave. Yeah, so it must be something.
But it's like an arm.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's his arm or what, but it has the horse's like blanket thing wrapped around it, and then at the end he's like, "You forgot this," like the blanket or whatever.
Yeah.
So I would like to think that he ends up not doing it to the baby, but that this kid now knows that that old man has powers to do stuff like this, so he's just gonna have that hanging over him his entire life, So that's a good one.
It's one of those that just it sits with you for a while.
What did you think about the episode with Luke Perry? He's coming up the stairs.
So, can you get inside my head?
Someone close to you is very ill. You've tried everything and now you're desperate.
That was one where like I knew the ending.
Oh, you could tell right away.
Because he absorbs like the woman with like the eating disorder, right?
Yeah, people's not diseases, but people's afflictions.
That's the thing. Yeah, he's able to absorb their affliction so they don't have it anymore, and then eventually, I think it just goes away from him. And like, this one kid has this issue where he keeps repeating these 4 sentences, like he's coming in the yard, he's coming up the stairs, he's knocking at the door, over and over again. And then something happens where Luke Perry like saves this kid. The kid's fine, but like Luke Perry doesn't start repeating the phrase. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then he's able to realize like this isn't happening, this is a dream. And then at the very end, it's revealed that he's just sitting there repeating the phrase. I'm like, well, yeah, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just liked the double twist because when he starts going through the actual scenario of the guy coming in, and then he's like, no, this isn't real, and it all goes away. But then the twist again that actually he has gone crazy. So I enjoyed the double twist, and also again a scenario where he's not dead, but he's screwed, you know.
Yeah, but he was able to get over the eating disorder, right? So wouldn't he be able to eventually get over this?
At the beginning of the episode, I don't know if it's his intro or outro, but Henry Rollins says something to the effect of like sometimes like it's just too much. Like it's because remember he was also taking medicine from his doctor, and then he's like, this medicine isn't working. I think he just like he couldn't handle it. Like it was too powerful even for him.
Okay. Yeah.
Because yeah, I mean, if you had this ability to like the eating disorder example, very gross when it shows him take it on and then all the bugs and everything.
Oh yeah.
But it's like it's one thing to take someone's eating disorder and having to deal with that, but like someone being in a psychotic state, like that's a pretty heavy thing to just absorb.
That's a big jump from
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think any other big ones that you want to mention.
I guess a classic one that I think you and I watched was the one with the town that doesn't listen to music.
Harmony.
You know who stars in that one? Timothy Oliphant from Scream 2 and the book of Boba Fett / Mandalorian season 2.
Yeah, he's a big TV actor now. Yeah.
Big TV guy. Yeah, I remember that one being a classic one. But after rewatching it, like the reveal of that it's music is like so obvious.
It's so obvious in so many different ways because first of all, Henry Rollins gives it away at the beginning. That's the episode where he says like some secrets should be kept. So it's like immediately you know this beast or whatever is real. And also an example of he just dies at the end and that's it. Like, okay, so this beast is unleashed and kills a bunch of people. Like, yeah, that sucks obviously, but it's kind of like that was an example of like the 2-sentence horror story that couldn't add that much to it. Also, the idea that they've all believed this for so long, like a religion, but he's able to just like convince them otherwise in like a 2-minute speech. You know, it just like felt very convenient.
Yeah, he convinces the one woman who's mentioned that she's like moved on to other cities, but then came back. I think after her parents died, so maybe she's already had some doubt. And then
But she was about to kill her brother, though.
Yeah, she was about to.
She was bought in.
Yeah, and then she starts singing for a second, like 10 seconds. Oh, see, we're fine. But I just find it so ridiculous that these people just kill their family members. It's
Yeah.
like the one kid. I think it's the one kid who's he was in the Dragon Ball Z movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, he's listening to music. Why didn't the mom come in and just take the headphones and just like why was the first thing like kill the son? Oh, he'll do it again. It's like
Yeah. It's one of those where extremely interesting hook.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't know in that opening scene what is going on yet. Like it hasn't been explained about the music. All you
Yeah.
see is the teenager listening to the music and then the mom strangling him.
Yeah.
So very interesting hook, but then when it explains why, it's like, okay, I don't really buy that.
But knowing the twist going in, it was like painfully obvious because like the guy like he like, looks around you know, after his mom tells him goodnight. Oh, okay, you know.
I think the worst segment of the whole show was Switch, the one about multiple personalities, where the woman. Basically, it's like a whole segment where they're like, let's make a segment like the movie Hellraiser, but it's like there's no budget, so it just all looks terrible and is unpleasant to watch.
Let me out! It's not me! Let me out! Let me out!
And I could barely get through that one. The ending is interesting, where like essentially the person who you think is the main personality is actually one that was created by her as a kid, and she gets locked away, so the actual unhinged real personality has taken back over. But that didn't justify the episode for me. It was just very like loud and abrasive and didn't look good.
Yeah, it was like a combination of like 13 Ghosts, like you said, Hellraiser, and any early 2000s music video. To the point where like I think there was an actual like licensed band song playing during a lot of the like it was basically a music video, and for some reason Pam Grier is in this as the doctor. I'm like, why are you here? Like why?
That's so many of them. Yeah,
it's like it's so many times where I'm like, I guess one segment where I really liked the ending because it was one of those endings that makes you sit like, oh geez, was the maze. Which I had a slight memory of. So basically, this woman's going to college, enters the maze, comes out, she's jumped like ahead like 2 years, and like the world's about to end because of a meteor. Goes back in the maze, comes back, you know, to that year, and decides to get, you know, basically start in a relationship with this guy that she was talking to originally, but then she decides, you know, to take a chance on love with this person, knowing that probably that meteor is still coming.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really, you know, it's like she still continues to like have this relationship with this person despite that this meteor is probably still coming.
I mean, it's thematically very similar to Arrival in that way, where you know something terrible is going to
Yeah.
happen, but you make the choice for love anyway. So I bought it. I did like that one too. The segment itself, it's fine. You're just kind of waiting. The teacher character is like ridiculous
Yeah.
with the knife, and she's from a few things also.
Yeah, she was from Pulp Fiction.
Baroque music is an acquired taste. You have to give it a chance.
You're crazy!
Oh, that attitude is going to screw your grade.
She was Honey Bunny in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, I didn't know that. Nice.
Yeah, Amanda Plumber. But yeah, like you said, some of these segments are great and full, and some of them are, like you said, like a two sentence horror story, and they just try to flesh it out. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I think also the opening segment's pretty good with the airplane and all the dead bodies. That one's decent.
That one's not bad. Yeah, the first four episodes, like I binged I like have all the streaming services, and like right now I'm just paying for nothing because I've just been watching this show and playing Red Dead Redemption 2. So my brain is melted by night visions.
Yeah. I think we've talked about enough. I mean, enough of them. Unless you have any more to point out.
But one more question. We gotta bring this up. Did 9/11 end this show?
I mean, the timing, I understand what you're saying, but why would it be the direct reason?
We got to cancel this show because it happened like during like the release date of this show.
Yeah,
it
is weird to think.
It's 2001. We had to mention it,
especially when one of the segments, the maze, she travels to 2003. No mention of 9/11 because in real life it hadn't happened yet.
Yeah, and the very first episode is a plane crash.
Oh yeah,
but I think the first episode was released like summer 2001, I think. So, I mean, before it happened, but
that's probably why. Yeah. So overall, the only way to watch this show is on a random YouTube channel in like 240p. But do you recommend the show?
Yes, I absolutely do. I think it's a very unique, interesting time capsule with amazing directors and actors that just happened. Like, the whole thing doesn't feel real. Like, there's so many times where it's like, directed by who? Is that, you know, it's like, and like no one talks about it. So yeah, I absolutely recommend it. Just for like a fun little time capsule.
If you're into this type of show like we are, I think it's one you definitely got to watch, especially because it's 13, 40-minute episodes, easy to kind of breeze through, and it's on YouTube for free, so I would definitely recommend checking it out. But with that being said, it's nowhere near the top of my list. You know, because it has such hits and misses. The consistency is not there at all, and for only having 13 episodes, you would hope it'd be a little bit more consistent.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not like the best anthology horror show, but it makes me want to explore the others I haven't seen that no one talks about, or like the Friday the 13th show, never seen. Alfred Hitchcock Presents, never seen. I bought a bootleg of Freddy's Nightmares, but someone else has that, so I'm gonna have to find another way to see that. But yeah.
All right. Well, we'll do the rest in post.
Usually, I'm a happy camper.
You can't do this! I'm not one of your dogs!
Is something wrong? Are you in pain?
Nothing lasts forever, kids. Try not to forget that.